And I'm just wondering, as someone that has been campaigning over the past, decade in a state that Bill Clinton won, that Jimmy Carter won, that used to be a swing state, Missouri, what type of Democrat needs to get nominated? Can, for instance, Bernie Sanders win in Missouri? Can Kamala Harris win in Missouri? Can Elizabeth Warren win in Missouri? Can they make it competitive?
I'm not sure about that. I do think that what, as a party, we need to do is make sure that we are nominating someone who is inspirational and who can convince the American people that they can make things change. And it's very hard to make things change if you're hanging out at the ends of the spectrum, if you're on opposite sides of the room and saying things that you know will never get 60 votes in the Senate.
Oh, boy. So, Claire McCaskill, she's just not sure. She's just not sure if someone like Bernie Sanders can win in Missouri. She just isn't sure. Because we can't have people that are on opposite sides. We can't have people that are on the extremes. Can't have people that don't know how to bring people together. We can't have people that are, unless they're inspirational. Well, Claire, maybe, before you went on Morning Joe, maybe if you just pressed the Google machine, you might have seen if someone like Bernie Sanders might have a shot in Missouri. Because on the right side of your screen would be the results of the Democratic Missouri primary in 2016. I mean, you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. Bernie Sanders essentially tied with Hillary Clinton in red state Missouri. Frankly, based on the election fraud, voter suppression, and shenanigans of the Democratic Party, wouldn't shock me if he actually beat Hillary Clinton. Right there. Hillary Clinton got 310,602 votes. Bernie, 309,071 votes. So, Bernie lost by about 1,500 votes, if I'm counting that right. But so I'm not sure if Bernie Sanders could win a state like Missouri. Well, you're a United States Senator. Maybe you should know the results of elections in your state. So clearly, by the data, someone like Bernie Sanders, of course, it's a primary. It wasn't the general election, but apparently somebody like Bernie Sanders can not only compete, but essentially he did win. I mean, that is an exact tie. He got one less delegate. But you see, it's not like Morning Joe actually corrected her. It's not like Morning Joe even looked to see who won the Democratic Party primary in Missouri. They're not there to actually do any research. They're not there to challenge somebody like Claire McCaskill putting out nonsense. So, first and foremost, yes, Bernie Sanders can compete in a place like Missouri. And if you look on the left, Donald Trump didn't really win by that much in the state of Missouri. In the Republican primary, he won by 2,000 votes. Sure, I mean, they voted for, it was a virtual tie with Ted Cruz, so obviously there was some terrible Republicans at the top, but it's totally factually inaccurate to say Bernie Sanders can't win in a state like Missouri. And I think one of the things that the corporate media doesn't understand, it's not only that Bernie Sanders has a better chance to win Michigan or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania or Ohio than somebody like Hillary Clinton or somebody like Joe Biden or somebody like Kamala Harris or somebody like Beto O'Rourke. Bernie Sanders can compete in red states. He can. Bernie Sanders, since the 2016 campaign, has gone down to Mississippi. He has gone down to Arkansas. He has gone to Kentucky. He has gone to Kansas. He has gone to a lot of red states. And you know what? He has sold out rallies. in these states. Now, obviously, a rally is not the same thing as winning a primary. But the point is, Bernie Sanders is widely popular among independents, which you need to win a general election. Many Republicans respect Bernie Sanders. This idea that, if he makes it to the general election, he would get bombarded as a socialist and Republicans and independents would turn the other way. The data doesn't back that up. The second thing she said, which is just laughable. She says, well, you need somebody who's, inspiring. Yeah, Bernie Sanders, it's like in 2016, he had, of course, if you remember, he had rallies to like half-empty high school gymnasiums. His rallies, they were like paying people to come. His rallies, it was embarrassing. He couldn't get anyone to come. You remember in Portland, he had, God, what a small crowd that was. 28,000 in Portland. Geez, what a small crowd that was. 40,000 in Brooklyn, New York. Geez, what a small crowd that was. 30,000 in Manhattan. Whoa, what a small crowd that was. I believe 30,000 in Seattle. Whoa, going to the Vatican to visit the Pope. There were crowds in the street chanting, Bernie, Bernie. But, we don't know. We need somebody inspiring, and to me, if I'm Claire McCaskill, clearly somebody like Joe Biden is more inspiring, who I think running in 2008 for president got 1% of the vote. I think he got 1% of the vote and then dropped out. Of course, somebody, like Beto O'Rourke, who ran a good campaign in Texas. I pointed out that it was impressive that he only lost by 2 percentage points to Ted Cruz. It's not easy for a Democrat to compete in Texas. But let me tell you something. That's in Texas. Beto O'Rourke is a congressman representing El Paso. And he's hot right now. You think Beto O'Rourke, once it comes out that he voted to deregulate Wall Street, which I'm going to get to later, you think Beto O'Rourke, who kind of was in the middle on the TPP, never came out strong against the TPP? You think Beto O'Rourke, who's not on the record supporting Medicare for all? Thank you, OTR Trucker, $2 in the super chat. Tulsi Gabbard almost announced on MSNBC. I didn't see that. I did not see that. Beto O'Rourke, all you got to do is look at his record for 5 minutes. I mean, I pointed it out yesterday. My friend, I respect him, but Sean King sent out a tweet that, he wants Beto to run and blah, 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 blah. Why? I mean, haven't we learned our lesson from Obama? Why would you want Beto O'Rourke to run? Yeah, he's charismatic. Yeah, he was better than Ted Cruz. A paper bag would be better than Ted Cruz. But he has no voting record. His voting record is not that of a progressive. It's just not. His donors are not that of a progressive. I've reported. He did fundraisers with fossil fuel lobbyists during the campaign. He voted to deregulate Wall Street along with other Democrats this year. Yet Beto O'Rourke is a challenger to Bernie Sanders. The corporate media doesn't understand that Bernie Sanders voters and progressives in general kind of research. They do some research. They're intelligent. I always said when I was at the Young Turks, when I was in the field, the smartest people at rallies, of course, we're not Trump supporters and we're not Hillary Clinton supporters. Bernie Sanders supporters always do candidates' voting records. They always knew who they were taking money from. And these were all, a lot of young people, too, and older people. So right there, Morning Joe lets Claire McCaskill lie and say, well, we don't know if someone like Bernie could compete in Missouri, even though Bernie Sanders virtually won the Missouri primary, which I just showed you. Well, we need somebody inspiring. Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in the United States right now. But we need somebody inspiring. Okay, let's continue with this.
What I hope is there's some authenticity with a candidate who will convince independent voters in my state and other states like mine that they have an equation where they can bring people together, where they can kind of repair some of the damage that has been done in terms of tribal polarization in this country. I think that's what most Americans want right now, and I think that will be the winning combination for president.
Oh, Claire. It's so funny because you're inadvertently giving your endorsement to Bernie Sanders. Oh my God. You know, it's like too easy. By the way, just so you know, guys, I just want to let you know. What's so funny about that is, you know who does wildly well with independent voters? Who's that at the top? Who's that at the top? Shockingly, this is a Fox News poll too. So this is March 2017, so not so long ago. Bernie Sanders, plus 41. 41% favorability rating among independent voters. 41% independent. He is more popular among independents than Planned Parenthood. Mike Pence, WikiLeaks, definitely more popular among Donald Trump. Wow, Donald Trump is more popular than Elizabeth Warren? Holy cow. I mean, 41%. Let's look at a recent Gallup poll. This is Sanders' favorability rating, September of this year. 54% among independents. 54%. 54%. Oh, and by the way, you remember how all these people say Bernie Sanders, you know, it's great that you're ginning up the white working class, but he's not speaking to people of color. You know, what is that non-white tab there? I'm sorry, is 64%, can somebody explain politics to me? Is 64% favorability among non-whites, is that good? Is that good or bad? So not only is Bernie Sanders wildly popular among independent voters, which is, by the way, why he won many of the open primaries against Hillary Clinton, open primaries when independent voters can vote. Kimberly says, Jordan's a little bitchy today. Yeah, I am. I didn't sleep well either, so maybe that's why I'm being more sarcastic than usual. Not only 54% among independents, that's a damn good favorability among the Democratic Party too. 78%. Non-whites, 64%. 18 to 34, 59%. 35 to 54, 58%. And I got to tell you something, what might be the most underrated category in this poll, which is just out in September, so not so long ago. Bernie Sanders' biggest problem in 2016 was 55 and older. Frankly, 65 and older. The Hillary Clinton crowd. Well, 45% favorability rating ain't so bad. Not so bad, folks. You got strong support among blacks, Latinos. You have strong support among independents. You have very strong support among millennials. Very strong support, mid-age, 35 to 54. And frankly, 45% is not bad. He would need to grow on that a little bit, but that's not bad. So everything Claire McCaskill is saying, everything she's saying that the Democratic Party needs is literally an endorsement of Bernie Sanders. I mean, you cannot make this up. She's literally endorsing Bernie Sanders while in the same breath saying, well, I don't really know if somebody like Bernie can win Missouri. I don't know about that. And I don't really know if, we need somebody inspiring. And, I don't really know. We need somebody with independent appeal. I mean, Claire, have you ever heard of a guy named Bernie Sanders? I'm not trying to poke fun at Claire, but come on, Claire. So, let's get back to this ridiculous fact-free interview. Here we go.
Senator, I'd like to go back to something you said just a moment ago about the direction of the Democratic Party and the battle for the 2020 presidential nomination, because it seems to me you were raising a cautionary note to those Democrats who argue the energy is on the left, that the recipe, the path for Democrats to regain the White House does not run through states like Missouri, that those are not the places that Democrats should be focused on contesting. Are you concerned that the party is going to not learn the old lesson, the historic lesson about trying to appeal to swing voters in the middle, because there is so much excitement by some of the new voices in the party that won with a really progressive message and coalitions that did not depend so much on centrist voters?
I think a presidential candidate who shows they have some pragmatism about being able to get things done. That's how you get change. You don't get change by rhetoric. You don't get change by saying, you know, we should have free college. You get change by actually bringing people together and accomplishing something. So I'm hopeful that, and by the way, the math is unforgiving, Susan. It is very difficult to get to the presidency without winning a state like Florida. And it is very difficult to get to the presidency without winning states like Ohio. While Sherrod Brown won in Ohio, it was not a good cycle in Ohio. It was obviously a terrible cycle in Florida. So if this is just about a progressive uprising, we wouldn't have lost as many seats in the Senate, and we would have done even better in terms of the House. So Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Florida, you can't get there without those states. So appealing to independent voters in those states is absolutely critical. And you can do that with progressive ideals as long as you don't fall off the left side of the earth.
Oh, we don't want to fall off the left side of the earth now. Well, what's so funny about what she says, because, you know, you gotta love the word pragmatism with these people, right? Gotta love the word pragmatism. Well, let's look at what pragmatism has done for you. How about that? Want to look at pragmatism over the last 40 years, 30 years, 20 years? Because when they mean pragmatism is really code for gradualism. And gradualism is really code for, listen, we'll do what our donors allow us to do. We'll try to give you as many crumbs as we can. We'll try to give you some cake from time to time. But, you know, we got to be pragmatic in this government. If you want to call it a government, it's really a legalized auction. Well, how's pragmatism? How is the way Claire McCaskill is describing things working? Here's the list of income inequality by state. 44% income inequality level in New York, where I live. That is the highest level of income inequality in the country. Florida, number 2. Connecticut, number 3. Nevada, number 4. Wyoming, number 5. Massachusetts, California, Illinois, New Jersey, Washington. I could go on forever. Pragmatism is a nonsense term for bought-off politicians to say to make it seem like they care about people. Pragmatism doesn't get anything done. And by the way, you know what's pragmatic? You know what's actually a pragmatic thing to do? Pragmatism is when you actually, as politicians or as a party, look at public sentiment. It's a radical concept, so stick with me. Pragmatism is when you look at public sentiment. So let's use Medicare for All as an example. Pragmatism would be, 70% of Americans like Medicare for All. 52% of Republicans want Medicare for All. So maybe we should try and figure out a way to get Medicare for All. And maybe, I'm just thinking pragmatically, maybe if we give the voters, the overwhelming majority of voters who want Medicare for All, guess what? Maybe if we do that, we'll get reelected. Maybe if we do that, we'll get donations from those middle class and working class voters so we don't have to kiss the ring of wealthy donors 24/7.